In this episode of Mighty Car Mods, we are working on the almighty Daihatsu Midget 2.
Now there is nothing wrong with Daihatsu Midget 2s. They're just like bigger cars except they're slow.
And they're small.
Yep.
It's probably hard to gauge how small it is. I'm trying to find something. Look, this is a broom. That's a broom. That's how small it is. It's the size of a broom. See, that's a small broom. That's making that midget look bigger than it really is. Anyway, this car is freaking awesome, and there's no denying.
Yep.
Marty and I can even agree on this, and we do agree occasionally. This is one of the most unique, weird, oddball, wacky cars anywhere on the planet.
And you know what I love about it? He has thrashed the absolute butt off this thing at the track multiple times on a skid pan, racing my K-Truck. You actually beat it a number of times
It's
in
midget
certain
power.
challenges. This thing is capable, it's light, it's got power to weight benefits.
But what it doesn't have is proper throw you in the seat,
Nope.
rip your pants off
Nope.
power.
Nope.
And so that's what it needs. Now, being such a weird car, there is no recipe. You don't go, there's the olive oil, then you add some onion and your celery and your carrot, which I think is French. I think that's called a mirepoix. It's like the base for like a stew or
Sounds
something.
like sugo, like a, you know what I mean, when you Italian, anyway.
I don't know. It doesn't have that. So, what are we going to do? We want to make it go faster. How are we going to do it? We have no idea. Conveniently located under the seat is the beating heart of the Daihatsu Midget 2. This is a 3-cylinder, 660cc, naturally aspirated pile of Daihatsu E-Series. I understand E stands for excrement, Martin.
It could, but what it actually means is E-Series is a series of engines, 3 cylinders that Daihatsu stuck with for a long, long time. Even our little green show car, that was the EJ. This I think is an EFCK. The one in my mirror is an EF. Anyway, there's heaps of them. Look on Wikipedia, that's a fun night in. Anyway, the good thing about that is we think, I hope, that a lot of this stuff interchanges. So they don't bother changing bolt patterns and bell housings and stuff. They just keep chucking them in lots of different cars. And there are a few people in the world who have modified midgets. I'm talking like 2 people. So we're going to try and follow their lead and see if we can make something work. I do have a few Daihatsu parts lying around.
There is so much Daihatsu shit lying around this building and the other building that I've been saying to Marty for years, you need to get rid of it or I will crush it. And I've done it before and I will do it again. But in this case, we basically can use some of Marty's shit to make this better because, as I'm sure you'll all agree, all Daihatsus are rubbish except for the Midget. I think it's the only car they've ever done that has any class or any kind of quality to it. Marty no doubt would agree. And your K-Truck is okay.
That's excellent.
As well. Daihatsus are mad, aren't they? Anyway, we're going to drop the engine out so we can have a look and then see if there's anything else that's sitting on Marty's shelf of shiza that might actually fit.
I do have something that I've had stored away waiting for the right project. It's a 1 litre, 3-cylinder engine out of a Daihatsu Mira. If we're lucky, the mass-produced nature of them means it's unlikely Daihatsu will have changed them all that much between model years.
The first step is to jack up your car. These midgets are an incredibly rare vehicle. I've only ever seen 2 of them in my life, so there isn't exactly a thriving aftermarket scene for them. And because of this, information is super hard to find and mostly in Japanese. So in short, we're flying blind. But we think this is a pretty special car, and our goal here is simple: to make the fastest Daihatsu Midget in the world. Now, it may not be the traditional style of project car, but we're going to do our best to make it mad. But this build is going to be tight. The finished car will end up on mainstream TV as part of the Supercheap Auto Oils Campaign for this year. The only problem is the car's due on set 1,000 kilometres away in just 10 days' time, and we're not even sure if it's going to work because nobody's ever done this before. It's actually super rusty under here and we need to get the exhaust off, so this is definitely a case where we want to use the WD Specialist Penetrant. This is the fast release. You can use the normal like WD-40 like multi-use stuff, like because it kind of does everything, thousands of different uses or whatever, but when you have a very specific thing to do, the Specialist range, that is what this does. So it quickly penetrates rusted and corroded parts, loosens seized fittings, use it on metal, alloys, plastic and rubbers, and that is where we need it, both up here and on all of these connections. Basically, we're going to do all of the exhaust stuff, also all of the engine bolts and all of the mounts. We'll let that sit for a few minutes and then we can start cracking everything off. Never seen this before. This is a hose that is attached to the exhaust. So there's a little bit that comes out of the exhaust and goes in that. Obviously designed to send some heat or send something somewhere. What do you reckon, Marty?
Yeah.
Look at that. Like it's got a rubber. Look at it. It's so.
And both sides too.
Weird
And one goes up to that airbox with the switch on it. And then I feel like if you flick
maybe
that
it melts
switch,
the snow.
Well,
No, I'm serious. Like maybe this is like for its winter mode, it puts heat up
definitely-
into that box because there's a little snow icon on
well,
it.
the problem with carbies as well is they ice up.
Yeah.
So if they ice up, you're not going anywhere. So I guess it just keeps it warm. It doesn't apply to us, man.
Why does the end of the hose have to be skin coloured and look like a
don't
colon?
know.
It does look like.
Don't know.
Anyone that's had a colonoscopy, that's what the photo looks like.
You know what
afterwards.
it's like? It looks like looking in the mirror, doesn't it?
What? What do you mean?
I don't know. Do the tail shaft bolts, man.
Well, it looks more like sitting on a mirror, I think.
Our biggest task with this conversion will be working out how to make our big block engine lay flat, something that it was never intended to do, and all within the tiny little subframe that holds everything together underneath the Midget.
That's the smallest drive shaft I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's tiny.
There really is no option for failure with this project. With a huge TV film crew on standby in Queensland, loads of other cars, actors, special guests, and a script that involves us and our Daihatsu Midget, we can't let the whole team down. So we have to get this engine out as quickly as possible so we can assess exactly what we're working with and if there's any other parts that we're going to need. Local supplies won't be an option if there's JDM specific items that we need. So if it comes down to it, we may need to quite literally get overnight parts from Japan. And the timing of that may make or break this whole project. Or our big block engine will simply bolt in, we just don't know.
All right, this is it, people. It looks like we've undone everything. Yep, good on this side.
How funny that the whole car is just on that little subframe.
Wow,
That's awesome.
that was efficient. Well done, Martin.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Good job.
Excellent. Now the real research begins. As you can see on our little engine table, all one of these engines is a normal engine laid that way, like 70 degrees on its side. So the sump's there. Normally your sump would be here. They just grab the whole engine and go, but the problem is a normal sump won't work. So then they move the accessories and stuff as well. So if you imagine that it was rotated up that way, it looks kind of like a normal engine. It looks exactly the same as the mirror.
Yeah,
As
right.
my mirror. So that's a good thing. That means it's very likely going to work. This intake manifold and stuff is different as well. So normally intake manifold would come up here, but they lay it on top to fit under the seat. So yeah, pretty cool, man.
This lay flat engine design is really common in both key vans and big ones. By putting the engine on its side and putting it lower in the vehicle, you get a low centre of gravity and more room for people and cargo. Daihatsu is able to utilise most of the same tooling to make these engines in the factory alongside their upright relatives, which keeps the cost down. Then they just throw on a different sump, intake manifold and ancillaries to make it physically fit. This engine from the Midget has a single overhead cam and is quite an old design, but it's been running for near on 3 decades, which is pretty impressive.
With the Midget's factory engine out, it's now time to lay it up next to our big block 1 litre. Yes, you heard that right, a big block 1 litre Daihatsu engine, to try and work out if this is actually going to be a compatible swap.
Looking at these two motors side by side, you might be thinking, hey, you know what? They don't really look that similar at all until you do this. And now, have a look at that. And they look almost the same.
Yeah, it's just, you can tell it's from the same family of engines and it sort of puts everything in the right position. The major difference is that the intake manifold goes the other way. So on that one, it goes that way, and on this one, it goes up and out, because normally the top of the car is here. What we're going to do is pull the gearboxes off both, and we're just going to see if they are cross-compatible. I've heard rumours that they are, but I don't actually know. So the next step is to yank the boxes and see if it fits.
And then if that works, the next step after that would be to then see if the sumps are switchable, and then, and most importantly, the actual oil feed. Hopefully we can pull that out and swap them. If so, Martin, we're looking good.
Yeah, and it's
if not,
reasonably simple. I mean, also the
Not so
intake
good.
manifold from that's probably not going to work, but it may bolt onto this and we can cut it and put an e-throttle on it, and that's it. You've got your idle, you've got your throttle, you've got everything, just put a pedal in and away you go. So luckily, the year that we live in currently, this sort of stuff is not as hard as it may once have been, but the most important thing is finding out whether this motor will fit that box.
There are giant companies in Japan that just make gearboxes. Actually, being Japan, they probably also make pianos and motorbikes, but what this means for us is that gearbox bell housings are often interchangeable. If the input shaft fits the clutch, which then fits the engine, you are well on your way to an excellent engine swap journey. The issue is for us is that the EJDE never came out rear-wheel drive, so it's a roll of the dice to see if Daihatsu decided to adjust the bolt spacing.
No way! Good job, man. Is that a big block swap in like 2 hours?
Yeah.
Well, we're not out of the woods, but if that works, we need to bolt it in and turn the crank and make sure it's actually turning the blocks. But if that works, I think we're good, man.
Change the sumps
Yeah.
and put it back in.
Pretty much, and then yeah, intake manifold, but like, that stuff's all pretty easy, especially if we can mix and match from different models. Okay, so it feels like the box mates up to the clutch that's on this car. They are different heights though, so I don't know why, that's the kind of mystery. All we need to do now is put the gearbox in gear, which is going to be, yeah, one of those. And if I can see that the flywheel's going to turn when I grab this, and now it's just a matter of seeing if the output shaft turns, and if it does, we are in business, people.
It's turning.
Is it?
It's turning.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
We're good.
Great.
That's awesome. So now I reckon we just strip all the rubbish off this motor, like right down to its undies, try and fit it into the car.
Yeah.
And if it fits in the car, the rest is just making stuff.
Yeah.
But it's physically going to work.
Awesome.
So cool.
My car goes, my car goes, I don't really wanna cop no tickets, but when I hit the clutch kick, look at my rear view, but you can't see shit. Everybody wanna be the best, the best. If your car doesn't, then please shut your lips. Mighty car Mars is the best, yo. My car goes rap, diddy rap, rap. My car goes shitty, chitty, bang, bang. My car goes A to B, eat the Civic and a Lambo when it's just a tease. Move money in me when we leave the scene. All you hear is shit, the gas too fast and the furious. If you wanna race, then you must be delirious, yo.
My only concern with this 1 litre is because, as far as I know, the 1 litres never came in the sort of flat floor model, so the vans and the trucks, that the engine mounts wouldn't work, because why cast it into the block if it's never going to be used? But that is the mount, and there it goes, and there's the things to use it. So Daihatsu have just like universally used all the same stuff, which is absolutely brilliant for what we're trying to do. And now we're going to check the engine mount on the other side, and then if the frame that sits underneath the whole thing works, then the only thing left to do is test fit into the car. But before we do that, we do need to get some parts. Like, I don't want this floating around in the air, so we're going to get a metal rocker cover off the one that our show car had, which is the L700. This is from an L251. We're going to get that rocker cover, which is smaller. It also needs a rocker cover gasket, and then we need to work out the intake manifold. So still a few things to do.
We also need to pull the sumps off each of them as well and look at the oil pickup and see if that's going to be compatible. But so far it looks like everything just swaps.
That's great.
As exciting as it is that this is the same, it actually makes total sense. The casting process they use at the factory would be an enormous undertaking to change, so if there's no pressing need to do so, the bolts are going to be in the same place, and then two guys from the internet 25 years later are going to be doing heaps of high fives over this dirty old sump. Sometimes if there's failure points, they might be revised where part of the block is made stronger, but it's always a balance between cost and longevity, particularly to get through the warranty period. Because the reality is, once upon a time, someone bought these cars from a dealer, safe in the knowledge they had a few years and a few 100,000 Ks where stuff would be fixed at no cost. Just so happens I got this EJDE for no cost, so we are onto a massive winner.
So the oil feed is on. That was a direct swap, nothing requiring any kind of changes or modifications at all. The last step now is to see if the Midget sideways sump actually fits on here and all lines up. And there's got a little locating dowel up here. Look at that.
Hey,
That's perfect.
it's so good.
There it is. So we've now got Midget sump and Midget oil pickup on Mira engine.
Yeah, EJDE, so 1 litre, big block. So I have been bowerbirding parts for these things for a long time. So the EJDE 1 litres that came out in Australia, they're all naturally aspirated, no turbos to be seen. In Japan, they're all 660cc, some are turbo, some are not.
But you can't get any of that stuff in Australia
No, you
easily,
cannot.
right?
No, you can't.
And as such, we're going to grab an empty suitcase and jump on a plane to Japan.
We're going to go get parts. It's there's not enough time to get them sent to us from overseas, and they're too big, so we're going to take a bunch of suitcases and sort it out.
Oh, arigatou gozaimasu. Anyway, so first stop Tokyo, and then onto the trains.
The train's about half a day of trains, 2 different trains.
And we'll be heading out to the country on the bullet trains to pick up our midget parts, put them in a suitcase, and then jump back on this plane in a day or two. We've bought a Daihatsu factory turbo engine off the internet and had it delivered to our mate's house in Japan. This is also a lay-flat engine configuration from a Daihatsu Tanto, which means we can take the inlet manifold, engine mounts, and all the extra parts we need to transfer onto our EJ engine to make it fit within the Midget's chassis. So this is an engine that we think is from a Daihatsu Tanto, turbocharged version of the Midget engine. We are jumping on a plane tomorrow, so we're going to pull off all the bits that we think that we need, including the mad turbo bits, and all of this, throw it in a suitcase, and then try and get it on a plane with us tomorrow.
So on our EJDE at home, this is blocked off. So that's actually the coolant port, and this adapter will allow it to go that way rather than whatever direction it normally goes when the engine is upright. This is what makes it all possible, having the lie flat intake manifold that goes that way instead of that way where it would normally sit.
All right, we have pulled off everything that we think we need from this block, and now the trick is to weigh everything and get it in a cardboard box, and then see if we can actually get onto a plane with it.
Are you good at maths?
Yeah, I'll work it out. Hey Rob,
G'day.
how you doing? Is that our box?
That's the box.
Awesome.
0.5.
We'll see if we can get a smaller box, but maybe this might be a good box.
No, I reckon that's a good one. All right, let's do it.
1.7. Oh, 3.5.
Yep. Turbo.
It's so little I can't see it. Oh,
Here.
Oh, that's it.
Oh, that's going to be a lot. You can tell already.
7.5. What are we up to?
All right. We're only on 13.7.
Oh, wait, we might make it.
There's another 10 kilos in there. We'll be fine, dude.
Bolts.
All the bolts.
1.6.
Turbo, isn't it? Yeah, okay.
Come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh yeah, dude, 21 on the nose.
Yes.
Yes. It's coming with us. Literally 2 days from now, that is going in the Midget.
With all the parts we need safely packed in a box, it's time to get this back to Australia. Next up, we're onto the bullet train to head to Haneda Airport in Tokyo. This train is so fast that it boggles your brain looking out the window. We just hope they let us onto the plane with our box of bolts and car parts.
There it is. We're at the airport. It's coming home. I hope it makes it. The box is looking a bit thrashed, so I'm going to get it wrapped because I don't want a turbo falling out. Good luck, bag. Have a good time under there.
Overnight parts from Japan, our box has safely arrived back in Australia. See you on the next episode of Mighty Car Mods when the Mad Midget build continues.